This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Well, happy Monday out there, everybody. My name's Brian.
My name's Mark.
And we are the Talking Shit Show. And we're waiting on our guest to show up. But before we get to our guest, Mark, we are on the network called the Deluxe Edition Network.
Yes, they're the one.
Those guys let us come over and just do this show. And they really like us, I guess. They haven't fired
I guess
us.
so.
Cancel culture has not happened yet for us.
Hey, that's because we don't, discriminate.
Over on the network, you got 2 podcasts of the month. Do you know who those guys are? Or can you let our
look up here in the corner, in the right-hand corner, and it is Horsing Around and the Real Drunk Podcast.
Perfect. And Kimberly says hello. Hi, Kim. We are waiting for Joe. I'm going to try to not butcher his name. Is it Altier? I feel like that's how we say it.
Hey, I that's how I would say it, but I butcher everybody's last name.
Just Joe from TikTok. If you guys haven't watched him, he is he's gonna blow your mind with some music, some ballads and
well,
stuff.
hold on, wait. I never said that we never said that he was playing. So I don't know if he's going to or not. I want that perfectly clear to some people that,
if people want to find out who he is and what he's about, I want them to go to TikTok and I want them to be able to see what he does. He is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it reminds me. Since we are live and stuff, we should congratulate ourselves and our subscribers, because we hit we're over 500 now. 500 subscribers on YouTube. Over 800.
Thank you guys.
Almost 850 on TikTok. It may not be a whole lot, but for us it is. And next Thursday, I believe it is, we're going to have an open forum, and we're going to promote the hell out of it. We're going to give everybody like 5 minutes to come in and talk, and we'll talk more about that later.
Perfect.
Because guess who just showed up?
Joe. Is it Joe?
Yeah, it's me, man. For some reason, I couldn't get it to work on my computer, so I was like, well, I better jump to my phone. So
I was getting ready to ask Mark. Let me ask you, Mark. Did you let people know, or did you let Joe know, especially, that it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Oh yeah, me and Joe's had this conversation. I made sure I put only one of our guests have ever messed that up. And he
I always
over on the
assume
West
whatever time it is, it's my time. I'm on the Eastern Standard Time, so
10-4. Well, Joe, our first question that we always like to ask our guests, and we took so long to ask this question. I don't know why, but how are you doing today?
I'm good. This month I've played in the past 16 days. I've played about 15 shows and only had 2 days off, last Monday and today. So today was a day off. So I literally, other than this, I unplugged and I told a few people in my life, like, you want to get a hold of me today? I'm sorry, tomorrow. Everything's waiting until tomorrow.
Hey, sometimes you make them wait.
Yeah.
Nothing was that urgent where it needed to be done today.
That's right. So we were going to have you a couple of days earlier, but you took your daughter and you guys went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy. How was it?
It was awesome. It was my favorite Guardians, to be honest, and I love them all.
And they said that this one was the best one, and it was sad, but
without giving a spoiler, I mean, it's got a sad little thing. I mean, I think everybody knew that because you were going in knowing that it was going to be the last one. They went in saying this last one. So if you didn't know that this wasn't going to have some kind of sad overtones, then. But I will say it's got a nice spin at the end. I mean, so it's good. Her and I got into all the Marvel movies during the pandemic, and we just had, we had a bunch of time on our hands at one point, especially living in New York State, because we were like, like stamped.
Oh, you guys were shut down.
Oh, God, man. I didn't want to get into it. But anyways.
It's not like Florida where we're a free state.
So she's like, I'm like, you want to watch some of these superhero movies? And I've watched some of them. So luckily Disney had all the Marvel movies. Like, hey, you want to watch them in order? Do you want to watch whatever order you want to watch them in? So I didn't know. I'm like, well, do we start with Captain America? My friend's like, no, why don't you start with Guardians of the Galaxy? If she gets into that, then go back. And so there's a special place in our heart for that movie. So for that part of the Marvel universe, I should say.
So your friend basically told you, hey, you got to watch the movies this particular way to do it. So.
Well, you can watch them anyway, but it does make sense when you watch them in the order. Before
right.
Disney Plus came out, I'm like, you had to go to websites, and there's people like, well, if you want to watch them in chronological order when they happen in history, I'm like, no, just tell me how they came out, So we went from there.
Cool. My daughter watched them as they were supposed to be in the order, instead of, when they came out. She put them all in, and she rated them all and rated all the actors and or the main actors actually. And then that was it was funny, but my daughter gets into that.
Well, that's how the Fast and Furious. My daughter and her fiance, they watched it the way that people were like, "Oh no, you got to watch 1, 2, then you skip. What is it? Skip 3."
3.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I still like the franchise, no matter what. How they went to space and whatnot. But since it's coming to an end, I can't wait to see how it's going to end.
That's cool. So, Joe, I found you. I scroll on this little app called TikTok. I don't know if anybody out there has ever heard of it or not. And you turn music into ballads, right? Is that the whole gimmick?
Well, that's what it kind of started with. I mean, I spent all this time, I spent years waiting to get on TikTok. Everyone's like, you should do TikTok. It'll be great for your career, doing this and that. So it's like, but you get on TikTok, and like me, I sing in a metal band. I sing in a rock band. I do, 5,000 different covers on the piano. So it's not always ballads, so, but I needed to find a lane, because on TikTok, there's so much friggin' talent on there that okay, I'm a little bit later to the game. This is about a year and a half ago. I'm like, I'm a little late to the game. How am I going to cut through to, so I went on there and tried to do a few things, and nothing was cutting through. And one of my buddies is like, well, you're the voice of the Big Show. Sing the WWE theme song for the Big Show. Why don't you do a video like, hey, you ever wondered what these people look like? And I did that video, and that video took off. And that was the first time I had a video that went over 100,000, and actually ended up going over 500,000. So that really got me some, traffic to the thing. Yeah. So then I'm like, all right, well, I can't just do this over and over again. So what am I going to do? So I started posting songs and doing different songs. And the one that took off and it made everything really kind of pop is I did a version of Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl, but in a minor key and as a ballad. And that was the first one to hit 1 million. So then it was like, now I'm off to the races. And then I did, what was the second one to hit 1 million? Then I took Devil Went Down to Georgia, and I turned that kind of into a dark ballad, and that went over 1 million. And then I did Skid Row's I Remember You as a ballad, and that took off. And then the one that really blew up was, I was like, oh crap, I was doing an IRL gig. I was doing one in real life, and I was like, oh crap, I got to do one. So I did Here I Go Again as a country ballad, by Whitesnake. And I did it real quick. I'm like, I'll just put it up. And I went to my gig. And 40 minutes later, my buddy's like, dude, your new TikTok video is taking off. I'm like, well, I've had a few take off. He's like, dude, this is getting 10,000 plays a minute right now. I'm like, what? Oh, wow. So all of a sudden I kind of found my lane, you know? So it's like, all right, this is what I'm kind of known for. So I'm going to go down this lane. And that's what it's been. I mean, not that I haven't done other stuff, but that's what kind of I'm known for, you know?
Really cool. You said you wrote the Big Show's music?
Yeah, I was in a band. They're not active anymore. We play reunion shows here and there. I was in a band called Brand New Sin. And in 2005, 2005, we were on tour. Our second tour, we did a couple tours with Motorhead. And the second tour we did with Motorhead, we were playing at the Hampton Beach Casino in New Hampshire. And Triple H and Stephanie came out because they were close friends with Motorhead. And I'm going to make a very long story short, but Triple H and Stephanie saw us that night, and they're like, we're going to get you involved with the WWE somehow. You guys would be perfect for it. And we struck up a friendship with them. And then like a week later, the WWE called our managers and said, hey, we want to work with them. We just don't know one facet yet, but we'll be in touch real soon. And then they contacted us a couple months later and said, you guys are going to rework the Big Show's theme song, because he was coming back to wrestling. He had taken some time off. They're revamping his character. So we took the original theme song that was sang by Michael Hayes, and they're like, just sludge it up, do a little Brand New Sin. That was the name of our band, Brand New Sin. Sludge it up, and then be in Stamford, Connecticut on this date. We were on tour with Black Label Society in the fall. So we had like 3 days off, and they're like, can you come to Stamford, Connecticut? And we went and recorded the theme song. And then 2006 till 2020, every time he came out in the ring, you heard me go, "Well," so, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
that's your voice. That's you doing that.
That's me doing that. It's my band behind me, but I'm the voice. And then the jump ahead in, was this 2020 or 2021? I can't remember. The last 3 years of this pandemic really warped all of our minds, hasn't it?
I know.
So you don't know what fucking year it was. But I think it was 2021. And the Big Show had signed with AEW.
Yep.
He came out of retirement. He was over there, but he's just commentating. And then one day, somebody's like, "Hey, man, have you been on your Twitter today?" I'm like, I don't really go on Twitter all that much. I don't get enough reaction on there. It's not where I spend my time. So I'm like, no. They're like, well, somebody from the AEW is trying to track you down. So I log into Twitter, and I have a direct message from this guy, Mickey Ruckus. And Mickey Ruckus is like the musical director for everything AEW. And he's like, we exchanged numbers, and he called me, and he's like, Big Show's over here, but he's known as Paul White because Big Show is owned by WWE. So he's Paul White Jr. now. And he's like, he's going to start wrestling, but he needs a new theme song. And we were just sitting with him the other day. And they're like, well, who do you want to do the theme song? And he's like, well, go get Joe, go get the guy that, did it before. And so he's like, can you do it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. What do I got to do? He's like, well, I'll send everything over. Can you do it in your home studio? I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, well, when do you need this done by? And this is on a Monday. He's like, like today?
Oh my God.
I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you want me to do? He's like, I already wrote the vocals. I already got a guide track. You just got to sing what I did, but do it in your voice. Add that little touch so that we all know that it's, that it's you, So when he comes out, there's a nod to the WWE version. So when they hear it, I mean, in wrestling, we all know, like, the most iconic theme songs, like you heard the glass break, you knew fucking Stone Cold was coming out.
Yeah.
You heard certain things. You heard the funeral bell. You knew the Undertaker was coming,
Yeah.
So they're like, we need something that, like, even if you hear that, then we know that it's time for the Big Show. So, or Paul White. So I'm like, I can do it. Send it over. And I did like 3 vocal takes, sent it over to him. And on Wednesday night on AEW, they debuted it. But then he hasn't wrestled since. But I mean, I think it's gotten over 500,000 views on YouTube. So
Yeah.
they gave me a bunch of credit, and they've got me in the loop. So like, hey, when things get busy again, we're going to have you involved. So,
Yep. Well, that's really, really cool, man. I did not know that was your voice doing the big
That's
show.
me,
Yeah.
man. No, I mean, how would you? You know, unless you've been following my career like super close, like a lot of my fans. But you know, I've been at wrestling events, and I'm sitting next to people, and that freaking my voice goes off, and I'm like, "That's me." Sure it is, buddy. Sure it is.
You're like, yeah,
I'm
watch
well,
this.
Well, the thing is, it's funny when I put it up on like TikTok, and TikTok's just, you know, infamous for like shit talkers and people like, oh, you're full of shit, you're lip syncing, you're whatever, you know. And there's people like, there's no fucking, that's not you. You hit this button before you started singing. I'm like, and I don't even argue with these people because I'm like, a easy Google search would turn it up that it's me.
Absolutely.
And there's even videos of us because we're the only band in WWE history to do an acoustic version of a theme song, and we went up to a WWE headquarters, so you can watch me and my band in WWE headquarters doing the Big Show acoustic. So it's really just funny. I mean, people just want to get a rise out. I'm like, I don't really give a shit if you believe me or not, man. You know, literally millions of people over, you know, what, 15, 16 years now have heard me sing it. So
if you weren't a wrestling fan, do you think that you would have written a song for them, or do you think that you
oh
could
hell yeah
option? Okay. I mean, a lot of people are like, I don't know anything about wrestling. I mean, what do I sing? I mean, what do I do? You know, what would I do?
Right. But I mean, I grew up, I'm almost 50. And like, so prime time for me was like, I got into wrestling in 1983, right when, you know, Hulk Hogan came along. So like, I grew up watching that. Even the Saturday morning cartoon, they had the freaking Saturday morning cartoon with Hulk Hogan and all that. I mean,
yes.
Dude, I lived and breathed and ate wrestling as a kid and even as a young adult. So to be involved in that, and actually at this point, because that's such an iconic, he's a legendary wrestler, and that theme song is so iconic. Like, I'm a part of wrestling history, which I don't even think about on a day-to-day basis. But every once in a while I sit there and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. You know, I'm like, that was pretty freaking cool, man. Like, I get to be a part of this, you know, so.
I mean, I think I could write some good lyrics. I'm just not I just can't, I don't know. I don't play an instrument. I'm not that guy. I wish I could. But, you know, back in the day when I was in the Navy, I would sit out on the smoke deck. There was a guy that played an acoustic guitar all the time, and he'd make all kinds of music together with a couple of guys. We'd be out there just jamming out, having a great time. And I wrote lyrics to a song one time, gave them to him. The song was great. Like, he loved the song. Unfortunately, that young man passed away and took that song and those lyrics with him. But man, he would play a set. He'd play a set for, we would do like what they call a Steel Beach picnic, which is basically you're out on a flight deck, and they're asking for, you know, you can do open talent stuff. So you get up there, you'd be a comedian or whatever. He'd get up there with, you know, acoustic guitar, microphone, get up there, start playing, jamming out. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Not everybody can do that. I mean, just because you're a musician doesn't mean you're a songwriter. Just because you're a songwriter doesn't mean you're a producer. Just because you're a producer doesn't mean you're a songwriter. You know, there's all these things, and not everybody can do it. I have friends that are some of the most amazing musicians in the world, and they don't know how to write a song. They're like, I can't write a song, can't write lyrics, you know. And there's people that can write all that but can't sing or barely play, you know. So,
and you're blessed with pretty much a lot of that, though, right? You write.
I am.
Play.
Yeah.
You have.
I record. I'm
charisma
in my studio. Yeah.
You do. So. You have the charisma for it as well. So it's not like, like just watching what you do on TikTok with the ballads, even there, it already looks like you're creating a small concert.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what I did, and now I think I'm almost at a 250,000 followers on there. And I mean, the algorithms get weird. There's days, there's times you'll get, you know, these big videos, and another day you're like, man, it's gonna be a good video, and like you get 800 views. You're like, what the fuck? But I talk to other creators, and I talk to some of the other creators on there that are like, you know, we've all kind of met each other, and I know some people that are like on the high end, all that, and they're like, man, it's just the way it is. Even us, I got 3 million followers. I put up a video the other day, I had 1,500 views. Like, you never know what it is, but I got to a point where it's like, all right, because once you start getting a taste of all those likes and everything like that, it's like you're like, I got to keep feeding it. I got to keep feeding it. I got to stay on top and stay on top. And it's like, you're not going to fucking be able to do that. So stop chasing it and just put up content that you fucking like.
Yeah.
You know, something that it speaks from your heart, and whether it resonates or goes through the right algorithm or is posted at the right time of day or is trending or whatever, you don't know, you know? So, you know, I learned those tricks from a few of these influencers and creators myself. So it's just like, I use it now more than anything just to have fun and steer people towards, you know, what I do with my career. You go and hit my link tree, and then that can kind of open you up to like all the things I've done in my career, or the music that I'm doing, or the places you can see me live. And up until last November, for the better part of the pandemic, for almost 3 years, I streamed on Twitch. And that was really how I was making all my money during the pandemic, because in New York, all our fucking gigs went away for like a year. And I was playing up to the pandemic. I played 300 gigs a year. I'm a 5-6 day a week guy. It's my full-time job. So I started streaming on there. So it was a way to steer people over to Twitch. I don't stream on it anymore because that's a whole other story. But the revenue started going down. Like, Twitch was a big thing for the gamers and all that stuff. But when you have people that weren't able to go out, whether it's, and there wasn't live music, not just here, but around the world, they were trying to find music elsewhere, and they found it on Twitch. And a bunch of us all did very well on there. But at some point when the music came back, whether it was going to see Elton John at a stadium or your buddy down at the bar at the corner, you had those options again. So those people that were spending that money on the musicians online started dwindling to the point where it wasn't a financial, it was too much of a crapshoot, because if you're streaming, at least when I go play a bar gig or a restaurant gig, I have a guaranteed amount of money. Mm-hmm. Whereas you turn your camera on Twitch, I can make, the sky's the limit. There was nights on there I was like, I can't believe I made that I've never made that much money in my life in one day, and then there's other days you're like, you could just make nothing and spend 4 hours of your day. Like, well, I just made nothing. So it got to a point where it was just like, yeah, I'm ready to go back out and play shows in my area. I did some touring last year as well too, around the States.
Really cool. Now, you said you toured with Motorhead and a couple other bands. Are you locked in tight with any of those guys? And is anybody trying to pull you in and say, hey, you want to be a part of this or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean that band was mainly active from 2002 2001 when I joined the band. 2002 is when our first record came out, and then I left the band in early 2008 just because we had done a lot of cool shit. 3 records, had some decent record labels and some great tours, but it just got to a point where it's like, man, I'm so far in debt. We made no money.
Oh wow!
It was the best decision I ever made in my life for my career and like experiences of touring the world and doing all that stuff. But financially, it was the worst decision I ever made. Because we just didn't make any goddamn money. So at that point in my life, there was a lot of things personally going on, and I was just like, man, I can't justify this. So I left. But yeah, I've stayed close with a lot of those bands over the years. I mean, Motorhead, Black Label Society, Breaking Benjamin, Saliva, Stone Sour, and then a lot of the hardcore world, Shadows Fall and Killswitch Engage, Slayer, Mastodon. I mean, we played with a who's who of everybody and toured with all of them. And I think, I did have options to like go join another band or do all this, but it would have required me leaving where I live in Syracuse. And by the time those options started coming around, I'd gotten married, I had a kid on the way, I had a stepdaughter, and I'm like, all right, let's do the smart thing here and just stay at home. But things are different now. I mean, I got other friends that are still in bands, and we've talked about, hey, we should do a little side project. We can do that now. Everyone has home studios, or we can play a show here and there, stuff like that. But
yeah.
But then
really cool.
It was quite the fucking journey. That could be a whole story within itself, that whole journey. I mean, if we look over here on my wall, you can see that in the TikTok videos, but those are all the albums between all my projects that I
So
put
you're
out.
a part of those. You're a part of those projects there, right?
Yeah, man. That's my solo stuff, Just Joe, the Brand New Sin albums, the WWE record. I had another band called Elephant Mountain, which was just a local like hard rock band that was a little side project between a bunch of us in Syracuse. And then there's a bunch of compilation albums that were on. We were a Jägermeister band, so they used to put us on compilations. Our old record label, Century Media, so some of that, not all of them, but I've tracked down almost all the CDs and put that up on the wall. So,
and I love the background that you have for your Just Joe back there. That's did somebody make that for you?
Yeah, like right before the pandemic started, I was about to move into this house. I live in the suburbs of Syracuse, and I was living in the city, and I wanted to move back out closer to where my daughter lived and my ex. And I got this house, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to move in. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and I'm like literally about to move. And I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do this? This is going to cost the money, oh my God, everything freaked out. But luckily, I mean, sidebar is that I have an amazing accountant, and unlike most musicians, I'm a business, I'm a limited liability company. I run everything properly. Most of my musician friends are like, oh, I just get paid under the table and I hired everything from the government. It's like, all right, well, that's great for taxes. But when shit hits the fan, like it did a couple of years ago, they weren't available to be able to weren't able to get assistance, from the government. I'm like, I told you, this could have helped you. So I ended up moving in here, and I took some of my money that I was getting from the government to help me, get through the pandemic. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take some of this money. I'm going to invest it right back into my business. Some new studio stuff, built this desk that you guys can't see, this big studio desk, lighting. And I had my friend come over and build that bar and that sign, the little Just Joe sign that's in the back there. And we, so it had this really cool, warm backdrop, So, yeah, I'm always that person. Like, you give me a lump of money, I'm like, what more studio gear can I buy? What more shit can I buy? Instead of I'm going to go buy TVs and whatever else people were spending their money on with the money, so.
Yeah, people got stupid, man. I don't get it, man. I sell. So I like to tell people that I sell adult toys, and what I mean by that is not literally I sell adult toys. I sell side by sides and four wheelers.
I was gonna say you sell four wheelers, don't you?
Yeah. But I love telling people I sell adult toys or toys for adults, that kind of stuff, because people are like, oh. But during the pandemic, man, when that all kicked off, we went from having a shit ton of inventory down to one unit, one machine. And it was like, dude, what are we going to do? People were in full-blown
yeah, it was, man. It's like everybody went, but I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that, how long I'm going to be home. I'm going to invest this money in here and be able, and because of that, it was like, then I had all this amazing equipment to be able to record. And then, all right, my TikToks aren't going to just look like, hey, I'm in a parking garage and singing, which is great. People have gotten huge off of that. I'm like, I want some kind of quality to it all.
Yeah.
So I was able to do all that, even though I wasn't able to get my stuff connected up here on my computer for tonight. I don't know what the hell I did, but we did it this way anyway. So
let me ask you, do you do a lot of editing then, a lot of video editing, or
all of the things that you see on TikTok are one take?
I would assume so. It looks like it's a one take thing, but you don't skip a beat, man. You just
well, dude, there's times like tonight's video that I just posted a little while ago, I did in 2 takes. But there's been days where I'm like, it took 30 takes. I'm putting them all aside because I don't have the patience. I have other friends. Last year when I toured, I went out. I went out and toured with a band called Halocene, who's big on TikTok and Twitch and YouTube and all that. And I went and opened for them around the country on 2 separate tours last year. And they had a couple of influencers out with them, singing with them. One of them was this guy, David Michael Frank, who's got almost 3 million people on TikTok. And I was like, dude, your videos look so cool. You do this. He's like, dude, you keep doing what you're doing. I go, why? Because you don't do any editing. And I watched him. One 45-second TikTok video took him fucking 4 hours to edit. I'm like, no.
Wow.
He's like, keep it simple, man. I'm like, well, I want to revamp. He's like, no, man, keep it simple. Even if you got to do like 20 takes, like, and I'm not using any auto tune or nothing. So like, if I fuck up, you'll hear me screw up sometimes. I'm like, all right, that was the best without a massive screw up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do everything one take, man. I don't do any of the, and if I do get to a point where it's video editing and it gets to that heavy thing, I can do it. I don't want to do it. I send it to my friend and I give him here.
Please help.
$40. Please help me. Here's $40.
Yeah.
Do what you can. If you got to charge me more, do whatever. I don't want to do this. You know, it's time consuming, man. Anybody, I can do music editing with recording and stuff, but when it comes to video editing, it really hurts my fucking head, man. I don't know how they do movies. When you sit there and actually,
yeah, Mark doesn't do it either. That's why we do live shows.
Right. It's so much easier.
Yeah, it's easier. I don't like messing with it. And it's like, okay, I might take out the wrong thing or do it too long or yeah, no.
I just and that's the thing. Like we created, like Mark and I, we sat down, we were sitting there thinking like, what kind of content do we want to bring to people? Like, what do we want to talk about? And I said, Mark, I just want to talk shit with people. That's it. I think it's a good time.
It is.
You sit down with people, and you know, if they've got a special talent that they want to show, if they've got things that they want to talk about, we're all good with that. And so I said, let's just create the platform for the guests when they come on the show and let them talk about whatever, and we'll just kind of ask questions along the way.
I had a podcast for quite a while. I ended up putting it on the side about 6-7 months, and probably actually more than that, almost a year ago, because it got time consuming for me. I love doing it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing the video. I was just doing like phone or like in-person ones here in the studio. But the amount of time I was putting into it as opposed to like what it was giving back to me and all these other things that were happening in my career, it's like, because what I was doing was going and grabbing people that I toured with in the past, or people I knew from the business, and we would sit there and just talk. And it wasn't necessarily about music. We just kind of wanted to see where the conversation went,
Absolutely.
And I think it did 55 episodes. I'd love to do it again. I really like doing podcasting's fun.
Yeah.
You do whatever the fuck you want, whether you get 1 million views or,
we're not getting 1 million views. We got mom and dad watching right now. So hi,
right.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's about having fun and also making these connections. Like, I mean, about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine connected me with the singer from Bowling for Soup, Jarrett, and a mutual friend. He's like, he does this, podcast called, Rockin' Dads, and he just talks to guys in the music business that are dads but also musicians.
Cool.
And he was asking me about people to have on the thing, because he was like, well, I've kind of gone through my Rolodex. What do you got? And him and I connected, and now we've become really close friends over because of that podcast, and open up all these. You never know, man. You never know what you're going to have on your conversation, or you never know might be watching. You might never might stumble on the replay or stuff like that. Back in the day, we had only a couple ways for people to know what you were doing, especially as a musician, or even as an actor or anything else. You had to be on a talk show. You had to be on MTV. You had to be on the radio. And there was gatekeepers, and only so many people could be through. Mm-hmm. There ain't no gatekeepers anymore. You can do whatever you want. You put it out there. But the kicker is trying to cut through a lot of the noise. But
yeah. Well, I think if we stay consistent and we're, we're not talking politics with people. We're not talking about, I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life either. I mean,
nope.
It's just, we just want to know about you. We want to know about, what you got going on in your life. We like talking about wrestling because Mark is a huge wrestling fan. I don't know if you've got a chance to check out any of our podcasts, but
I will.
I was an indie wrestler for about a week. Uh,
A week.
I wrestled with a company called SAW in Southern California, where I got some training as a referee. I got trained as Icon, my persona. It really hurt. I had a wrestling ring in my backyard when I worked with New Wave Pro Wrestling. That's a good friend of mine, Andy, and then Trevor. That they created that brand, and then that ended up. Did he say that ended up selling out to not SoCal? Right, it went to. I can't even remember the name.
I don't know who it was. I want to say
it wasn't West Coast Wrestling Company or something like that. But these guys are fantastic. They're going to be back on the show in June, and they're really great guys. Really great guys to talk to. So
no, it's so much fun. The wrestling world, when you can go down that deep, the dive, because I mean, even before the WWE, like Vince. I mean, we all know what Vince did. I mean, wrestling was fractured and it was territorial, and you weren't allowed to grab this dude. It was all that. And Vince is the one that's like, no, I'm going to buy everybody and take over the world. But in the meantime, even though Vince is up here and big and the AEW is kind of up here, there's still all this amazing independent wrestling. It's just like music. You got guys that are like on major labels. You got the Justin Biebers and the Taylor Swifts and the Lamb of Gods and all that stuff. But regionally, you have all this amazing talent as well, and you can go check it out. And wrestling, I tell people, wrestling's the same way, man. And then you're like, hey, I saw that guy before he was who he is now up there. Or you see the guy like, remember that dude? He used to be in the WWE. He's wrestling down here at the VFW today with our local promotion.
There you go.
And stuff like that. And, you can look at that either way. It's like, oh, man, how far has he fallen? But it's like, man, no one can ever stay up here forever. No one can. If you're doing it for the love of wrestling, and a lot of those guys, I mean, that's what they do. I tell you what, man, I always had respect for wrestlers, but when we got involved with the WWE and we spent a lot of time, like we got to go to a lot of different events and go backstage. And I mean, we met everybody. Vince had lunch with us. I mean, working with that company was one of the most pleasant experiences I've ever had. Cool. They truly cared about the musicians and what they were doing and what they were doing for us. It made us feel welcome so often. So Triple H obviously was our point guy. So the first time we went to a Raw, it was about a week and a half after we recorded the song, and they were like, well, let's have you come to Indianapolis and meet everybody. Big Show will be there, but we're not going to debut the song probably for a few more months. So we went to the show, and man, we got in there, and Triple H found us. He's like, all right, he wasn't wrestling at the time. I think he was injured. So he was like, I'm gonna be your guide today. So man, we were there at like 8 or 9 in the morning. We stayed for the whole thing, and we watched how an entire day goes on at the WWE, and got to go out in the ring, and he threw me into the ropes and he hit the thing. Dude, that hurts, man.
If you've never done it, and Mark wants to do it. Mark's body.
It's still my dream. Okay, don't torture my dream. Okay.
Mark's
I still want to be.
Hey,
I still want to be choke slammed. I still love it.
I'll be right there, Mark.
I had such a newer appreciation. The other thing is, like, with other sports, major sports, baseball, basketball, football, there's an off season, right? You play for a couple months and then you have a bunch of months off. Wrestling, you're fucking going 52 weeks a year, man. You don't have time off.
Yeah.
And especially if you're at the top of the game, they're like, you can't leave for a week. I'm going to go on a week's vacation. No, we can't. It's being pushed right now. This is, and in football,
we're losing connection here.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. We're losing connection.
Joe, we're losing connection here. We're losing connection, Joe. He's frozen.
Yeah, my sister's funny.
Oh, that's your sister?
Yep.
Joe, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're frozen.
All right.
Give it a second. Oh, it was coming back.
Come back?
It was.
Audio. I feel like this is always my luck. This is why I said this is anything can happen live, guys.
Gotta love it.
You gotta love it. Nope, Joe, you're frozen again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you end up going live. Things do happen. You know,
we
have audio and video problems every once in a blue.
The last few times we've had.
Well, it doesn't help that we have $1.99 freaking Wi-Fi over here.
Hey, it's not our. Come on. Mine costs more than $1.99. $2.50.
All right, talk to us, Joe. Are you there?
Am I moving yet?
You are. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, because
okay, now we got you back.
All right, you were glitching too. I'm like, I didn't touch anything.
I didn't do it.
No.
All right. So what I was saying, I think I know where I left off, is that when someone gets hurt in those other sports, the game stops.
Yeah.
And in wrestling, unless somebody is really fucked up, which has obviously happened a few times, but 99.9% of the time the show goes on.
Absolutely.
You know, the show goes on.
No matter
watching
what.
One time. Yeah, like we're up for when WWE bought. Why am I forgetting?
WCW.
No, not WCW. What was the other one?
AEW.
The
ECW.
ECW. When they bought that, we were going up, and they were filming SmackDown and ECW on those nights. So we went up for that. We were going to be on camera. They interviewed us and everything. That night, Randy Orton separated his shoulder. Like you saw it happen. He landed it.
I know what episode. Yeah.
And they were, you watch the cameras and everything. You see him get out there. The one referee comes over because they're all trained. Some of them are actually, medics and all that. So they're over there. The girl that was his manager at the time was over there, and you could see them like move things around to be able to make that happen. He did his best to get back, and then he gets back in the ring and wrestles with a fucking separated shoulder. Like how many times have you seen that? Remember when Eddie Guerrero debuted in WWE,
his elbow,
and he did the frog splash,
his elbow.
His elbow went the other way. I mean, you saw it. That's what happened. So
Sid Vicious coming off the top rope, breaking his
foot. Oh God!
Yep. Oh my God!
Yep.
I mean, those things happen so often. Sometimes you don't even know it because they're like, "Fuck, we gotta finish the thing." So, watching that and then watching it from behind the scenes that night, and we got to sit in with Shawn Michaels, and I can't remember who Shawn Michaels was wrestling that night, but we watched them with the writers and the two guys wrestling. They worked out what they were going to do, how they're going to finish it. It was fucking fascinating, and just to see how. I got a new respect. I don't give a shit if you think. Yes, are the only thing that's it is scripted. But
the only thing that's
you're not landing punches, but man, physically, dude, those dudes.
The only thing that's not real to me is the finish. They already know who's going to win. Everything else to me, I like to tell people, sometimes they don't hit. They know when to move. They know how to throw each other into the ropes without hurting each other, and it's called it's not scripted on all that. They know how to do that. That's why they tell you not to do it at home, because they don't know how to do it. They're trained to do it.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that you did the Big Show theme song. He's one of the main ones, or one of the big ones that I've been trying to get on here, and it's like, wow, it's pretty cool.
Good luck.
He's an incredibly cool dude. I mean, we obviously hung out with a handful of times, and he treated us so good. We're so thankful for what we did, and obviously it meant a lot when he came to find me, and said, "Just go get Joe again." Like that. That spoke volumes to me. I mean, that dude knows everybody. He probably knows huge rock stars, but he also knew that that theme song was so iconic. Like, just get the dude to do it again. If you guys look it up once you get off here, just look up Paul White Jr. AEW, and you'll see it. It says, I can't remember, Room with a View, Room with a New View, and featuring Joe Altieri. You can hear it, and once you hear it, it starts coming in, and then I do that, well, and then it goes into this new song. So it's like, it kind of had this, you know, a nod to it, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
it was
that's
cool.
smart because I mean it keeps within the theme of
Yeah.
who he is too. I mean,
Absolutely.
it would be like if Stone Cold came out to a country song, I'd be okay with it, but I
Right.
still want to hear that Glass,
Right,
you know,
man.
just so I know who it is.
I mean, you can change. A lot of guys change characters and wrestlers, but when you get to that next level where you're fucking iconic, it's a different story. You know. There it is.
It doesn't sound great on the phone, but
Yeah.
But
That's it, man.
so how did you decide on when you did that? How did you decide on? Well, it's the
Well,
big show.
Well, the original, if you go back and listen to the original version that was done by Michael Hayes, who's, you know, legend wrestler as it was, it was a more bluesy version of it, you know, and he used to go, well, it was, you know, like more of a bluesy thing.
Right.
And they had Jim Johnston, who's the guy that wrote all the music for WWE. He gave us the template. And he had all this stuff, and I helped him. You know, we kind of did some lyrics together because there wasn't a second verse written for what he had, because the original version only had one verse, and they were like, "We're going to do the full song," so that's when we came into that. But so we had cut the whole fucking song, and then he's like, "All right, you guys get out of the room," and it was on a Monday, so I'm watching. We're at WWE headquarters, and we're watching him in the studio record us, but also like, hey, I need a couple minutes, guys. And he was getting shit ready for Monday Night Raw. There was like, like 20 or 30 people in the studio kept coming in. So they're, we got a snippet for Raw, right? There it goes. All right, we're back to this. So we were working with them all day. And he's like, all right, everything's done except for that original. We need that well, you know? And I kept going, where? I was trying to kind of mimic what Michael had done. And he's like, man, he goes, be you. He kept saying that. I'm like, man, you know, what do I do? I'm like, I've watched wrestling so long. I know this theme song. I got to detach from that and do something. And he's just like, you know, just say where. And he gave me some kind of guidance, and I did it. And he's like, all right, now you're kind of overdoing it. And goes, come back and just go where, just like that. And like, and he's like, you got it. He's like, do it again. And I did it like 3-4 times because they'll stack up the vocals and all that shit. And but yeah, that's how it came up with. But that honestly took longer than anything else. I think we're in there for like 45 minutes just trying to come up with that thing, because that is what the first thing everyone's going to hear. So it's like everything else has got to be good, but that has got to be where it was. And that's what he said. He goes, this is what's going to bring him in to WrestleMania. 30 million people are going to hear you do this on a weekly basis. We got to have this. No pressure, you know. And I remember a few weeks later, and I mean, there was, social media at that time wasn't really, it was, I think MySpace was the only thing that was around. So there really wasn't a way to leak stuff like that. And so they sent us the track. Our manager got it and sent us over the track via email, and we had to download it. It took forever. I just remember hearing it. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds awesome. You know, it was like, because we only recorded it and we left before we heard the finished product, you know, so.
No,
that's cool.
That's
really
awesome.
That's really awesome. Did they ask you to do any other ones, or was Paul White's the only one that they had?
No, Paul was the only one. You know,
Okay.
They did ask, you know, like, you know, if you come back, could you do a different, you know, different voice and stuff like that? But I think because that theme song became so iconic, it's like, how do you take my voice and go do it with somebody else? Without, I mean, I have the ability to change my voice, because I mean, if you hear that music, or if you hear me do like what I did with Brand New Sin, and then you hear what I do with ballads, I have a lot of different styles in my voices, which is enabled me to like do voice acting and like voiceovers and stuff like that. I can change it around, but like, I don't know. I think they're like, that's Paul's guy. No one can fuck with Paul's guy. Or if I went and did it like that, Paul would be like, wait, why are you cheating on me? So.
Well, Joe, I have a ton of questions. I didn't want to bombard you with a ton of questions.
Hit them.
Let's rapid fire. How did you know that you were a musician, like from a young age?
I don't even know. I just was born with it, honestly. It was like, I started playing piano sitting down. My mom had a piano in the house. I sat down and just started playing even before I could remember. So my mom, right around the same time I was learning how to read and write as a little kid, she had taught me how to read music and how to play scales on my piano. I honestly can't remember a time that music wasn't like that was what everything was. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be a full-time musician. I wanted to be kind of a quote-unquote rock star. So for the better part of my early childhood, and I went to college, I played college football, and I went and got a degree in history and a minor in education. I was going to teach because I didn't think music was the safe thing to do. But if I would, I don't remember a time where I wasn't a musician. Let me put it that way.
Very cool. Did you
music chose me. I didn't choose music.
No, that's perfect. So your mom, was she your biggest influence then?
Oh, absolutely. Still is my
Beautiful.
my biggest fan to this day.
Well, happy late Mother's Day to your mom. So that's really
still
cool.
there?
Yeah, can you hear me? You see us?
Yeah, it cut out for a
It
I
froze.
see it. It cut out for a split second.
You have kids.
I
You have
have
kids,
one
correct?
daughter. I have a stepdaughter from my previous marriage, but I'm still close with her. But I have a 9-year-old daughter. So
And who taught you about TikTok? Was it your kids or was it
No.
a friend?
well, before it was TikTok, it was called Musically, right?
Yes,
That's where
was.
it came from. There was an app called Musically, and it was only snippets. I think you could do like 10 seconds. And my stepdaughter at that time, I was still married to my daughter's mother, and she's like, you should do this. I'm like, what is this? 10 seconds? What am I going to do on here? Man, I wish I listened to her back then, because that was like 2015. I could have been on the forefront of it all. But then later on, TikTok started getting taken off. But then I went on TikTok, and at that time it was like 15-second, 30-second clips. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I'm too old for this shit. I'm too old. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit that I started taking more notice to TikTok. And then I'm like, you know what? I got to get over there. But I seem to be putting all my eggs in the basket of doing Twitch, that I didn't know how to like change gears. And like getting back to the very first part of our conversation, how do I cut through the noise now? Like how do I just get on there? Because I have friends that are incredibly talented, jumped on at the same time as me, but couldn't cut through the noise. But I at least had that wild card about the WWE that kind of gave me that whoop, that gave me the push.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was initially my stepdaughter, but that was years ago before I was using TikTok. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, man, I really wish I listened to you, because I should have been doing this a long time ago. But
You'd have been the number one guy on TikTok.
or at least I might have been the has-been at this point. I might have already had my time and be on the other side of it,
You said you're friends with a lot of people on TikTok, as far as other people in your genre or comedians?
A little bit of everything, man. Like, mostly musicians, but there's a few comedians on there. I mean, nobody big comedian wise, but like, dudes that are just posting funny content, and we just find ourselves crossing paths, and sharing ideas, because a lot of it's really cool to like, all right, what do you see? What's happening? One of my favorite guys to watch is this guy named Steve Johnson voiceovers, and that's what he's been doing his whole life. You've heard his voice on tons of commercials, and he does like food shit all the time. And he freaked out because he's like, oh my God, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and we became buddies that way. But like, we share ideas.
Are you talking about Steven Johnson, the guy that you watch eat the food in the car? Is that him? Love that. I love him.
Big black guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. He does. He's got a great voice.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. We went and bought pickle Doritos because I watched one of his TikToks, and he said, "Damn it, Doritos, what are you doing to me?"
Right. Yeah, but he's awesome. But I've traded ideas with him. Like every once in a while, it's like we cross paths and we're like, "Hey, this is working," or "Hey, you should try this," or "This is where we see it trending." Because we don't know. We don't know what the hell's happening every day. You never know what's going. It's the Wild West out there.
Sure.
To be honest with you, So But I've built a niche at this point, and I'm just cultivating that niche. And if something breaks through bigger, then I roll with it, you know.
Perfect.
But I don't try to, like, for a little while I tried to follow a lot of trends, and that's a really dangerous thing to do, because then you're chasing it, and you're like, I'm too old to be chasing it at this point, you know.
And do you have any of your videos on Facebook Reels at all?
Yeah, actually, it was probably, I don't know, the end of last year, about 5-6 months ago. That's when I started quote unquote repurposing my content over to Reels, Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube Shorts, which are slowly taking off. I mean, I get every once in a while I get one on there that gets like 3 or 4. I did an open verse challenge with Jelly Roll, and that one got a lot of views over on YouTube. But basically, whatever I post on there, I grab from a site called Repurpose, and it rips the fucking TikTok. It keeps everything except pulls the TikTok icon off the screen. Yeah. So it, I think the other sites, they're like, hey, we want our own original content or whatever. They don't want to promote TikTok. There's competition. Sure. So I started sharing. Basically, I share when I do my TikTok, whether it's that day or maybe the next day, and then I start sharing it to all my other socials. And that's when things really took off on Instagram, because I posted a video of me doing Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff probably well over a year ago, right? And then I was like, when I started sharing stuff to Instagram and Facebook Reels, I'm like, all right, well, I have a year's worth of content. I have 300 videos that I did over on TikTok. I'm just going to start grabbing them and sharing them over to Instagram. And one day I shared the Limp Bizkit video from a year ago, well over a year ago, and shared it on there. And then one of my buddies was like, dude, Fred Durst just shared your video and gave all his props. And then like all of a sudden shit blew up. And then I shared it back to TikTok. And then a original video got like 50,000 views. This one did 500,000. And it opened this whole door, like, reimagine this Pantera song, reimagine. And then I was like, okay, now I'm taking metal songs, which I've always done my whole career, and put them on the piano. But then it became a thing, which has opened up a bunch of other doors, which, I can't divulge yet. There's some things kind of working in the back doors and all this stuff with the metal stuff. So now that's kind of become a thing. Like, oh, I took a ballad, but let's take Metallica's Master of Puppets and bring it down to a ballad. Let's take, Slayer and put it on the piano. So that became another lane. So yeah, I started sharing it all over there because, everyone's like, oh, TikTok's going to get banned. I'm like, no, it's not going to get banned. They're using that as the forefront to try to, like, I don't want to talk politics, but they're basically trying to find ways to just cultivate. They're just trying to do it so they can pass another bill that basically gives them access to literally every fucking thing we do. It's the Patriot Act of the internet, and it's fucking terrifying, because I have a friend who works at TikTok. Again, I don't want to make this political. He works at TikTok, and he was like, if you watch the TikTok hearings that were happening a month ago, he was right behind the CEO.
Yeah,
I talked to him. Yeah, I was talking to him. He's like, they're not going to ban it. He goes, this is a deeper thing. TikTok just is the forefront. Let's make, someone's got to be all that stuff. So, but in any case, I tell anybody who's a creator on the internet, don't put all your eggs in any basket. Right. Instagram, Facebook, or anything else. Spread it out, because you never know when one platform is going to do this or one video is going to do well over here. And it's like, why not? And if you can do it in a very timely fashion, where you got a system down, like edit the video, do this, send it to that website, rips off the TikTok thing. All you got to do is just go spend about 10, 15 minutes going YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Reels. There you go. And
there you go, Mark. Make sure you write that down.
Everyone's like, well, how can you do that? I'm like, it takes a little while to catch the rhythm. Once you catch the rhythm, then you can do that. But I mean, Facebook, on the personal page, you can only put 60-second videos. On a business page, you can do 1.5 minutes. YouTube, you can do a minute. Instagram, you can post whatever. And now I'm in the creator fund on TikTok. So, I can earn off of open for brand sponsorships and all this stuff. And I just got put in a beta program that it's allowing me to create I can put an hour-long video on TikTok.
Wow.
It's for people
really cool.
people that are creating longer content, they're like, okay, well, you're not just a snippet guy. You sometimes put up full versions of songs, or at least 2-minute versions. These are geared towards the people who are putting up longer content. So I've just got put in this new beta thing because they're like, we think you're going to be better over in this thing than the regular creator fund. So yeah, some backdoor stuff. So, but like I said, I don't try to put all my eggs in one basket, because you never know when you might do something that pisses somebody off, and then TikTok's like, oh, we're banning you. So you don't fucking know.
Well,
Yeah,
that
Someone
was one of
hacks
our,
your account or whatever the fuck happens, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're gone. So it's like, all right, I gotta be somewhere else just in case something happens, you know.
one of the other talents that we had on here is comedian Bryce Tucker, and he's over on Facebook doing more reels because he got he got banned from doing them on TikTok or
Yeah.
content that like I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, but he was like, yeah, I'm spending a little bit more time over here on Facebook, and I'm like, man, just keep putting
Yeah.
what you can over on TikTok, because people
Well, that's what it is. Like, if you get enough people, if someone wanted to like jack with you, they can report you, and then they can get a bunch of other people to start reporting you, and if they start doing that, they can skew it. And then TikTok is like, there's automation, and the next thing you know, like, they don't want to rock the boat with everything that's going on, then they'll either shadow ban you or they'll just restrict your account. You'll do whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not in charge of that. So that's why, like, I mean, I got friends that are like, that get very political, or very like, you're pushing the edges of like different, things in society. I'm like, no, I'm just going to sing songs and I'm keep my fucking mouth shut.
we're just gonna be over here talking shit with the guy that
We're-
sings songs.
Right. We're just going to be over here talking shit. So, what else you got for me?
Um,
Hold on, I have one. So
What's
you
that?
said in the beginning, you said that you play for 3 bands
Yeah.
throughout the week. What's the name of the bands?
Brand New Sin, and then Elephant Mountain, which is inactive at the moment. Brand New Sin isn't really active at the moment, but we do reunion shows every once in a while. And then I have Just Joe, and then I'm working on a cover band just to do fun stuff. We got some guys in this town. One of them happens to be the drummer for the band Stained. He's from here,
yeah.
from Syracuse. So him and I are going to start this little project, just for fun, to play some cover songs. And then once in a blue moon, I have a Bad Company tribute band too, because Bad Company is one of my favorite bands of all time. So I got a few. When I get bored with something, I'm like, all right, I want to do this. Let's do this.
I don't think you're getting bored with doing the ballads though, right? Because everything it's all coming. Does it come natural to you when you hear?
Yes.
And then you're just like, you know what, I'm going to slow this down. So
Yeah.
in essence, for me, because there's a lot of heavy metal songs that I love the way the beat goes, but I can't understand the lyrics, and you are absolutely helping me out now. Because now I know what the lyrics are.
You're not the only one, because someone's like, oh my God, I didn't know that's what they said, or this is
Exactly.
what they said. So, but I've also had comments where people are like, well, why don't you speed? You're always slowing shit down. Why don't you speed it up? And it's like, it's not what I do. I'm like, hey man,
Yeah.
I'd love to, but this is my thing. And if you speed something up, speed a ballad down, and you go fast, and you're just one dude on the piano, it starts to sound a little hokey. The only way you can speed things up, and I have other friends that do this, they're full band. They're like, hey, we're going to take a Britney Spears ballad, and we're going to turn it into a punk rock song. And you got to have the beats and all this other stuff. So I've tried to speed stuff up, and to me, I'm like, dude, this sounds really forced and unnatural. So if you complain that I'm just doing ballads, I'm sorry.
I absolutely
work
love
for-
no,
do I-
Oh, I
Do
love
work
it.
for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, this is like, I
Sweet
tell
Child.
people, I go, this is. What's that?
I said, "Sweet Child of Mine." The first time I heard it from when you sang it, I was like, it gave me chills. I'm like, wow, that was just freaking awesome. The same with Cult of Personality.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
Cult
yeah.
of Personality. When
Yeah,
you
both of
did
those
that
two.
one, I was like, oh my God, dude, rock this one out.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
both
Actually,
of them.
I got to post a few things, because over the past, usually I post like when people follow me or share it or all this stuff. So like I have, rock stars that are constantly like chiming in or sharing my stuff. And when I put that Cult of Personality one up, Corey Glover sent me the thumbs up, man. He said, sounds great and liked it. So I take screenshots of that and I share it on my socials every once in a while. I'm like, hey man, more TikTok craziness, you know. But I've actually had bands reach out and they're like, hey man, we have a new single coming out. Would you be willing to, you know, do a version on your own, you know, like do a version of our heavy rock song this way. So I got some of those in the works. It's pretty cool. So
cool. Can't wait to hear those.
Collaborate, you know.
The other day when I sent him a message asking him if he took requests and stuff.
Yeah. What do you got?
He was in the middle of you know, doing a set, or right after a set. He said he thought I was having him come on here and play. I'm like, no.
No. We would love, if you want to play something to do that. That'd be fantastic.
No,
we have you on to let our fans and let people know who you are and what you do.
What requests do you have? Do you have something
at the time I was thinking I actually had just listened to I think it's called Teenage Wasteland.
Yes, you know what? I've done it, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, I did a version of that. It was a long time ago. And I think I put it up on TikTok, but it was like way back. It's time for me to do it again. But years ago, I put it up on Facebook, you know, as a Facebook video, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and slowed it down. And it kind of sounded like the intro to like some movie. So, dude, I'm going to do that. I'm making a little note because I'm always like, I have a to-do list of when people suggest stuff. And I slowly get to it from time to time. So. But yeah,
that was the first one off the top of my head.
You're gonna love it. I already have it. I already have it templated. It's just me doing it. So, and I'll tag you guys.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. My wife absolutely hates like when I listen to Korn and stuff like that. And we were actually driving back, and she was like, "Why?" She's like, "What the hell was I listening to?" I can't even remember the song, but I tried to get it to start, and I was ready to sing it in the car on the way back from Daytona today. And she hit the button. She was like, "Nope, we ain't listening to that."
I have a version. I put out a record called Vulgar Display of Piano, and I just put it out in February. I took all those metal songs that were taking off, mainly because of the Limp Bizkit one. And I already had a bunch recorded, and I redid a bunch of others. And one of them I redid Blind on the piano.
Blind.
By Korn.
Okay. Yeah.
So I remember the song Toxicity. System of a Down. Yeah, I was trying to listen to that because I just love System of a Down, dude. I mean,
me too.
Is it you, or is it the song, or is it just you singing? She just didn't want to hear.
Maybe both. Maybe both. Let's go with the latter. But Joe, we appreciate your time. We did ask you for an hour. You gave us an hour. Would you like to let our fans know where they can find you, where they can watch you?
Easiest thing to do is just go to my website, and it's the easiest website in the world. It's justjoe.com. And if you actually just search Just Joe on Google, I will pop right up at the top. You can go on there, and that will literally link you to everything, because everyone's like, well, how do I find you on Instagram? I'm like, just go to my website, and up there you can click on that, and that'll open a link tree. And yeah, that's really a hub of everything, and it's the easiest website known to man. So it's like, okay, you get over here, and we're ready to go. So
perfect.
Well, I'm gonna do Teenage Wasteland this weekend. I'll be tagging you guys.
This weekend? Okay.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Do you want to play us out?
I don't even know if you can hear me. Well, it's a big show. It's a big bad show tonight. Yeah, baby. Oh, it's a big show. Crank it up. Turn on them lights. Well, turn them on. You ready for something that you never know? You won't see it coming, but it's time for the show. Well, West Beach Show. There you go. There's an outro for you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe.
Gentlemen, thank you. I'll be in
Absolutely.
touch, man. Keep in touch, man, for sure.
I will.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for doing this for
Peace
us.
out,
We
guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Well, guys, that was Just Joe. Joe Altier from Syracuse, New York. Check him out at justjoe.com. And like he said, his link trees are up there. If you don't know who he is, get on TikTok, type in Just Joe or Joe Ballads, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
No, not at all.
You'll
It's some
probably
great
scroll
chat.
for an hour or two if you like music.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't on there an hour. I was on there for about 45 minutes just going through it. I'm hitting this
45
one.
minutes.
Yeah, I'm hitting this one. I'm like, okay, I'm done with this one. I go through it again. I'm like, okay, I got to get off this, or otherwise I want to lose the day away. You know, but I was happy for that one. We had to change a few things around, which was okay. I had no problem doing that. Hopefully we can we'll get them back on before long. You know.
We'll shoot him a message. I mean, I had shot a message out to his friend who we had discussed, Mr. Johnson, and I did ask him to come on the show. I have not gotten a response back. So, Joe, if you are watching, you want to shoot him a message. I mean, it's an hour of his time.
Yeah, I
At
might
any point
use
that he's available.
I might use this as a reel, this part, and then tag him in it.
Beautiful. I'll send you some of his videos, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you should.
I'll send you.
I probably have seen them. But wait, did you say pickled Doritos?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So there are now Cool Ranch pickle Doritos.
It goes along with the ketchup Doritos that they have out.
So he had done a video on them. He also just did one. Did you know that Papa John's Pizza just came out with a Cool Ranch papadilla?
I heard something about it. I haven't really.
He did that one as well. So, I mean, listen, if he doesn't like the food, he's going to tell you that, like, that is ass or that is great. I went to Popeyes, I think, and got the blueberry hot cake, whatever the heck it was, because of him. Because he was like, hey, you got to, oh my God, this is really good. So that's like an orgasm in the mouth. So. But guys, Joe Altier, Just Joe, check him out. Thank him for coming on the show again. Yes, I cannot wait to hear what he does with Teenage Wasteland, and he's going to tag Mark and I in that, so I'm going to share the crap out of it. So
Oh yeah. And of course, like before, on the 25th, people need to basically they need to join us to hear our special announcement. We're, like I said, we're going to have an open forum that night. We're going to put it where you can join us live, be on the screen with us, and talk to us. We're going to limit people to about 5 minutes. Maybe it could be longer. It just depends on how it goes, but most likely 5 minutes. But we're going to announce something that day, and hopefully we'll figure out everything else for that show. But until then, we got 2 other people coming on the show. On Thursday, we have Crystal.
tomorrow night, don't we?
Nope, no,
Not
none
tomorrow?
tomorrow. No.
Oh, we're off tomorrow.
Yes, we're off tomorrow.
We're taking a break. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thursday,
And
we have Crystal Gorski.
Gorski. She's an actress, and she's from Ocala.
Oh, no
She's
shit.
been in some movies. She's an upcoming actress, and I believe that she'll be really good. And on next Tuesday, we have, who do we have? They were last month's one of last month's podcast of the month, Barrel Age Flicks.
Oh, yes. We're going to be with Barrel Age Flicks, and we came up with a theme, guys. We are going to talk about bad acting in movies. Each one of us.
We're all going to pick 5 actors, actresses, and we're going to who did not fit the role that they got. they should not have had that role.
Correct. Yeah.
Think
about it, bro. Bad acting. I've got my 5.
Yeah,
I've got my
Brian.
It's me. I should not be in any movies.
Yeah. But that should be an interesting one. Brian's got a concept for that one that we'll go into again. We'll talk more about it Thursday.
We're gonna team up with these guys and just come up with this thing that I've got planned, dude. I'm telling you, it's gonna work.
And since I don't drink, and that's a personal thing, I don't drink for reasons.
That's okay. Your shot will be.
Yeah, they're fucking gonna make me drink something out of my fridge.
That's right.
My God, I got to come up with actors or actresses that they won't know. Because I'm not drinking the shit out of my fridge.
But guys, thank you all for joining us. We want to thank the Deluxe Edition Network for having us.
We want to thank the 2 podcasts of the month. We want to thank 2 podcasts of the month, Horsing Around, and the Real Drunk podcast. Go check them out along with others like us, talking shit, or Flet's Movie and Pop Culture 13, or
Stephen Jarvis and Friends.
Yeah.
You got the MILF and Me is the newer one.
And go check out, and I my personal favorite right now is the Broken System. Yep, it is freaking awesome. It's awesome how he's doing this, but it's not awesome for DJ. Go check it out. You'll understand. You'll hear the stuff that we heard, and you'll understand what we're talking about. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but go check them out, and you won't regret it.
Well, Mark, I'm good. If you're good, you want to say goodnight to everybody?
Yeah, I'm going to say goodnight because I'm going to go watch wrestling.
Well, good night then.
Good night, everybody. Have a good night.